All right, everybody, and welcome back to WRUU-LP Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRU.org. We are Savannah Sonics Community Radio with Global Soul. Thank you for tuning in today. You are listening to The Adam Messer Show, and I am your host, Adam Messer, and we're on hour number 2 with my special guests, Ellie Raine and Retta Bodhaine. Welcome back, ladies. Thank you very much for being here today.
Hey, good to be here.
Blueberry.
Awesome. And Bass, do you mind playing a little live music for us? This is Sebastian Messer, everybody playing in the studio. Take it away, Bass. Awesome. Thank you very much, Sebastian. That's great. And everybody, so thank you, ladies, for being back. I had a fun time with y'all when you were here. And when I say here, I mean like on the phone in the radio land and all that. I had so much fun talking with both y'all individually. I wanted to have y'all back together. And I thought it was cool because you're both good friends in real life. And you all are up like outside of Atlanta or whatever, and I'm here in Savannah, Georgia. So
Savannah's a great place, though. I used to love getting to visit that.
Oh, I love Savannah.
To go in the past little while here.
I love Savannah. Savannah, I think, is and I'm not just bragging on Savannah because I love Savannah, but Savannah's probably one of the best places that you could go on like a vacation, even if it's a couple days or if you're coming from wherever, because the city itself was like the first planned city in the United States, and James Oglethorpe had planned it out. There's a lot of historical stuff here, but then also on top of that, it's not just historical stuff, but it's geared to catering towards tourism and tourists. And so there's a lot of stuff here. And then within, 25 to 30 minutes of Savannah, you can go to the beach. You can go to Hilton Head. It's like about 45 minutes up. There's all kinds of things that you can do here. We don't have like the big stuff like Atlanta, like, the major metropolitan sports and all that. Like I grew up in Cincinnati, so I was used to like the Reds and the Bengals, and we even had a hockey team at one point. Savannah does not have that, but they do have collegiate baseball. But as far as everything else, it's like just a really fun little city for people to come visit, and so it's relatively safe too. I mean, like they do have some problems, but for the most part, it's a very safe city for people to travel and bring their families, and it's a great place to bring kids and stuff like that too. So it's one of the things I love about Savannah is it's very family friendly.
Yeah, we've been going down there pretty much my entire life on just like little weekend jaunts, and
Always loved getting to see what I called the SCAD store. I'm not actually sure what the real name of it is because I've just
Ex
always
Libris
called it that.
might be the Ex Libris.
Possibly. Like I said, I have a park near me that I only ever call Snake Lake because we saw a snake at it once.
I got
could
you.
not tell you what the real name of the park is.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a store down there called the SCAD store for me. It's right next to the Riverwalk, and you go in and you get to see all the art that's being made by the local students.
Yeah.
And then the Savannah Bee Company has always been an awesome place to go. I love all the different flutes that they do and how they try and come up with all these different varieties. Like I'm really looking forward to trying the lavender honey they got. And it's really a place that celebrates people being expressive and creative.
Yeah, they're
And there are a
well,
lot
and
of
it's crazy because well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, I'm just saying that's a really cool thing for me because there's a lot of places that look at that stuff as not necessary or over the top or something like that. And for me, it's like, no, this is the kind of stuff that gives a place soul.
Right, right.
Yep.
That's one of the things I love about the art and architecture. That's one of the things I love about doing this show because I love having conversations with creative people, like both y'all. I just enjoy it, because the things come and go, but art is an expression of humanity. Art is an expression of our beings. And I was talking to a guy yesterday and, talking about everything that we are around is a creation of something by somebody. And there's art in everything, even if it's functional, even if it's just like for example, this microphone that I'm using with the soundboard, there was a design used when they made this, they didn't just say here, it's just a stick and a mic. It's, there was a functional design put into it, and, they try to make it functional and aesthetic. Even if it's just a plain, it might look plain to you. Somebody created that. They made it. They used art to create it. Engineering and all that stuff. Huh?
Look at cars.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
How much designing goes into that. And
right.
People desire certain designs for those cars.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and
I mean, if we weren't into art, we'd all just have Model Ts.
yeah. Like Ford used to say, you can have any color you want as long as it's black. So, but I think that's cool because expressionism and how we express ourselves and that human condition, especially like with writing and all. And it's crazy because we really haven't talked about writing much at all. But I feel like storytelling, writing is just an extension. It's just a medium of storytelling. But we're storytelling people. We're storytelling beings. And art is a story. When you look at something, you're like, you might not even think about it. But like this guy I was talking with yesterday, his name's Jeffrey Hayes, and I don't know if you saw like the updated logo for Valhalla Books or not yet, but
yeah, I saw that you just posted that. It looks
Very
awesome.
yeah. So like he took my original design, and I told him, I was like, man, like I did this, and this is the feel of it that I want, but I would like it, updated, and because he's a graphic designer. And he took my original idea and the art and redid it so it's really clean. And then it's weird because the little Viking helmet, if you look at the old one and you look at the new one, there's a very subtle difference, right? It's a very like almost imperceivable. But he recreated the icon so it's actually an original. It's almost exactly like the other one, but it's different and it's original, and he did it just for my Valhalla Books. And I was like, what? You what? And
Awesome.
I was like, dude, you like encapsulated the feel of it, because I had this other, like the font that he used. It was one of the fonts that I was had used for a different logo, but it's not the one that I had published. And I was like, I really like this font more than I like the other font. But I want, and the first one he sent me was that red and gold one. I was like, oh, that's really cool. Can you do one like I did so it's print worthy and ready? Because the red one doesn't really translate as well, like like a book. It's great for color, but like interior, design of the book, I'm doing black and white, and it just doesn't translate. Just come out like kind of gray or whatever. And so he redid it, and I was like, oh man, this is just perfect, and we were talking about, I was like, art is everything. Like, you see it, even like a cheeseburger, you go to the store and you get a cheeseburger, or you go to a restaurant, you get a little cheeseburger, like a little fast food joint. The wrapper is designed specifically to have an artistic appeal to it. It's not just a plain wrapper, I mean, like you could get something like that, but the wrapper's going to have like their logo on it, and it's going to have like the name of the burger or whatever, little fast food joints or whatever. I mean, like even the packaging, like for example with McDonald's, their French fries, the packaging is red and yellow, you know, and it's designed so that it's appealing for you, and I just think,
there's also a reason why chefs take particular care to plate their food and how they make it aesthetically pleasing just as well as,
the presentation,
tasty.
I think too, it's
now it kind of becomes
go
a
ahead.
conversation about marketing versus art.
Marketing is an art, and it's one that I have yet to crack.
Well, and the other thing too, though, with marketing, it's an extension of art because it's the sales of art, right? Like you're trying to sell art or sell a product. Like with books, covers, people say, don't judge a book by its cover, but that's exactly what people do first.
Everyone does.
That's the first thing they do.
Like, do you know how many books I sold with the new covers versus the old covers that, even though I liked the older covers, the minute we came out with these newer ones, suddenly people were willing to spend $5 more for the new covers rather than the old ones.
Yeah, Jeffrey and I were talking about that, we were talking about that because he's going to be doing some cover art for me. And we were talking about that because, like, I've done this stuff so far, and like I feel like it's adequate, and it's like might be a little above average, but not much, right? And I told him, I was like, I can do the basics, but if I can work with someone who, their skill level is good, and especially when he got my logo right, because that's one of the things when you're talking with somebody who, because I've done art for people before, I've done commissions for people. And when you get somebody who can take your idea of what you're talking to them about, or in this case, I had like one that I had already designed and been using, but when they can take that and they can capture that feeling of that you're looking for,
Yeah.
I mean, like he did these posters for a couple different authors and stuff that are in the area or whatever. He did this one for this guy named Charles Millhouse recently, and the poster that he did, it was like it was one of these ones where it had like all these different aspects in it. There was like a guy and a girl, and there's like these aliens and a dinosaur and all kind. I mean, but the poster itself looked just crazy good, and I think that's what, when we're talking about storytelling, I mean, like you see a story when you see something, we all make judgments, and when you see something like, like you're talking about the Necromancer t-shirts,
Yep.
like I would pay an arm or leg for that type thing. It's just a silly little joke. And the people that like that, they're going to be like, oh man, that's my thing, Or like Retta with you, the radio productions that y'all do, that might not be visual arts, but it's still an art form.
Very much so.
And so I think that's one of the really cool things I love about storytelling. I got to do the station ID real quick, and then I'm going to, be Blueberry, like, hello. I'm doing all the non sequiturs. Everybody, you are listening today to WRUU LP Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings Community Radio with Global Soul. My special guests today are authors Ellie Raine and Retta Bodhaine. And we've just been hanging out, chit-chatting and talking, really. What do y'all think about, like, I know I've been chin-wagging a lot and talking a lot, kind of giving my side of what I think, but what do y'all think about, like expressionism and art and all that we've...
So I took an art history class many moons ago, and I remember really hating the postmodernists.
Okay.
I'm sorry, because I write in a postmodernist style.
No, not writing.
Visually.
Visually, I remember really hating the postmodernists because all they were doing was critiquing the modernists.
So lay a little foundation here for the folks out there. What are you talking about?
Okay, so basics. Everybody knows who Andy Warhol is.
The soup guy.
Yep.
Yes, the soup guy. Do you know that Andy Warhol basically sent in directions for all of his stuff to be made? And that was his entire point, was saying that art doesn't even need a person.
Mm-hmm.
That so the modernists, what they were trying to do is they were trying to say, look, I can paint this, and that is a feeling. I can put into a visual media what a feeling is.
Mm-hmm.
And the postmodernists were like, no, you can fake feelings just as easily. Just because you put something that looks like it's anger doesn't mean it's actually anger.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you can do something where, oh, look, this signifies solitude doesn't mean that you actually felt solitude. You don't have to feel anything to be able to visually represent it, which is why Andy Warhol and people of his movement also did the same thing, where they would go out and they would make this very highly commercialized art as a, see, you keep trying to act like you're all big and bad and like you can paint feelings, or like you can take your feelings and make it into some kind of visual thing, but I'm calling BS on all of it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying that you're doing it for the commercial value, and I can do the same thing without ever having to touch a brush, the canvas.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of where I kind of think when it comes to expressionism. And that's the kind of difference I'm thinking between art and marketing. Ellie, when she's redesigning the covers of her books, I've been in on those conversations. I know how much it means to her. I know how she's looking at every single aspect. And I also know that she could have hired a person to do the exact same thing who wouldn't have thought about any of that and just would have been looking at numbers and statistics and what's going to sell.
Yeah, they're clinically detached from it, right?
Exactly. It's very much the same thing where you can do the exact same thing as each other, and sometimes it has heart and sometimes it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
And it has absolutely nothing to do with the audience either way.
Well, I had a person that I worked with before, because like if it's outside of my skill set, but I really want it, like, and I have a concept or something like that, I'm going to hire somebody to do it. And,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, like, I try to work with independent artists too, because, I like working with indie artists. But I had a guy one time, and no naming names and no, whatever, but I had a great, relationship with a guy, and I referred him to a friend of mine, and the friend liked the logo that this guy had done for me, and the the friend wanted like almost exactly the same style, but with his stuff or whatever. And so, I got him set up with that, and then there was like, the guy sent it over like pretty quickly because I guess he was available or whatever, and then like my friend that had hired him, the next day he wanted to make a change. Like this all happened within 24 hours. And the other guy was like, no, that's $25 extra if you want to make a change. And I was like, dude, he just gave you the money. You did it like really quickly. He had it done in like 20 minutes, and there's nothing wrong with being able to do something in 20 minutes if you got the skills, But I was like, you can't try to charge him another $25 because he is asking you to make a change for the little icon. And like the guy got really angry about it, and he was like, you don't understand. And I was like, no, I do understand. I do freelance work. I do a lot of stuff. When you're working with a client, sometimes things come back. Now there's a difference between like scope creep, where people are like, oh, I want to change this and this. There's a difference between that and like, working with a client on like, a change like I'm talking about. And I told him, I said, man, I get what you're talking about, but you literally spent 20 minutes doing this same thing because I'd already paid you before to make this logo for me. And then you just changed a few things around on the same logo that you'd already done for me. And I stopped talking to him altogether. And I was so embarrassed because I was, and at that point the guy had like the person I commissioned, like he had no, like when you're talking about like no connection to it at all. Like he did not care one bit whether or not my friend that was his client liked the logo or not. He just cared about getting another $25 out of him. And I was like, I told my friend, I was like, man, I'm really sorry. Yeah, I'm really sorry about that, and it was embarrassing for me because, like, I don't like to refer people unless I really, trust them or know them. And, and I stopped, I mean, like, literally, like, I stopped dealing with the guy completely. I was like, I'm not doing this, and my friend ended up never using the logo, and, it was just like, whatever. So, and I'd had
kind of a bad experience all around for both of y'all.
Yeah, and I had worked with a guy on several things before, and I always had a good good experience with him. But that one thing was like I was like, I'm going to refer a client to you, and then you're going to act like that. There's just no way. There's just no way. If you can't be professional, and like you're talking about marketing and art. So like, yeah, you have to separate them. You do have to separate them because it's like and my background is in business and leadership, but there's like the sales side of the house and then there's the service side of the house, right? And like, so if we were talking about a restaurant, you'd have, the waiters or the staff, they're the sales side because they're like, hey, blah, 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 blah. And then the service side, they're also doing the service side because they're kind of like in between. And then the artists are like the chefs, but they're creating whatever and, whatever. But the overall has to come together for the customer's experience, right? If you got bad service and you've got wonderful food, people might forgive that if the food's good enough. They might just overlook like bad service. But if you got bad service and bad food, or if you got bad food and great service, it's just like it's the same thing with art. If you got somebody that's just totally not connected to whatever you're doing, they're not the right fit. They're just not the right fit.
But trying to advertise is a bit of a pain point for me because there's this block I can't seem to get past with putting my stuff out there if I care about it so much.
I did a seminar yesterday. I went to a seminar with a guy named Jonathan Mayberry yesterday, and he talked about that same issue. And I'll tell you what he said. He was saying that publishing is not the same as writing your books or doing your art or whatever.
No, not at all.
It's not.
That's, and then when you're like, if you're looking at that side of it, that just compartmentalize it. It's publishing. That is part of the publishing, and that's part of the work that you have to do, for putting it out there. And there's, you don't want to hit up your friends and family. I feel the same way. I'm like, I'll put it out there, but I'm never going to beg somebody to buy something.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I just put a book out this last week, and I don't want to beg anybody. Like, if it's their thing, it's their thing. But publishing, he was talking about like publishing and that business side of it. You got to look at it as like a business and say, hey, okay, these are the different things that I have to do because it is my business. And then you can, like, for me, I don't like to hawk my art either, but I can't sell books if I don't try to put them out there. You know what I mean?
However, in the arts, I think it's a little bit. So, in my day life, I work with a lot of people who are very good at what they do for jobs.
Yeah.
But maybe don't know how to run a business. Like, a lot of people out there want to go into business for themselves because they know what they do.
Yeah, they got a good skill set.
But knowing what you do doesn't mean you have any idea of how to run a business. And where it comes to things of that nature, you can hire accountants, you can hire lawyers, you can hire people, a business manager even. You can hire all the people that you would have. But in the arts, it's more you're trying to get other people to see how good you are so that they'll want to take you on. Or you're having to learn to do it yourself.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that people in the arts end up having to wear so many more hats.
Well, yeah, because it costs money to hire people out.
It costs money to hire people out, and unfortunately, I'm sure you've seen this, there is a lot of people out there who are willing to be hired out as publishers, where you pay them money and then they publish your book, but then they don't do squat with it. And almost the entire industry considers that to be a scam.
Yeah, vanity publishing is a scam. And, I'll tell you, Retta, one of the things that I noticed, and this is just from my background, and I'm not talking about anybody else, but the number one thing that any business needs is sales. It's the number one thing that people need. You have to have a good product or service, but you have to have sales, because you don't have anything unless you have cash flow. And like with our side of things, when we're indie artists, we might not have that cash flow. Like, I don't have tons of money to hire out, people for things, because I just don't have that money. I'm not making sales, right?
I know.
So, a lot of people are on the same boat, but for me, and this is, and I'm not, this is actually sales, right? But, if you want to call it like something, but my thing is, I've been focusing on connecting with the readers and the reader experience, because I'm like, okay, I'm going to sell you on this being a good product and a good book, but I'm not going to sell you. I'm going to, if you're a reader that likes, these horror books or whatever, I'm not trying to, tell the person that likes the cozy beach mystery books, hey man, check out my books. I'm trying to look for the folks that they, this is like their thing. Like a lot of people like radio stuff, like with your radio thing, and a lot of people like fantasy stuff, Ellie, like with your stuff, but not everybody's going to like that thing, and so it's like, don't waste, on the sales side of it, don't put it out there to people, like when you're talking, Red, about the people that don't, they have no soul when it comes to, it's like, oh, hey man, I don't care what you're thinking. You're saying that you could, paint this, and there's maybe not really that emotion there. I could do the same thing without even doing it, painting it. I could just be like, there are people out there that they just don't care at all. They're like, you're like, man, I just spent 100 hours on this one thing. They're like, oh, good for you,
Yeah. And there's one thing especially that Amazon's been having some trouble with some scam.
Oh yeah, people stealing books. Yeah.
Yeah, they steal books and they just pop it in a file, and it's not usually caught. So they post it up there, and they sell way more copies than the actual author who wrote it.
Oh, I found a couple of those. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, my thinking is, okay, if a fake book can sell, well, like, assuming that, assuming it's a fake book, if a fake book can sell a ton of copies, why can't a real book? So obviously it is possible to just shut off any emotion or attachment to it and just sell. But it's really hard to when it is your creation.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying about, like, for us, the sales is, like, the process of us doing sales is the process of us connecting with readers. So we're not trying to sell people a hamburger or a hot dog, but we're trying to connect.
Them an experience.
Yeah, you gotta connect with readers, right? And I've got a very small readership, but I'll tell you what, I love them. I love them to death. I got to do the station ID real quick, y'all. We got to do the station break. So we're going to be back in about a minute and a half or so. And I want to definitely hear more about what your thoughts are on it.
Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings, community radio with global soul.
Thank you to everyone who made a financial contribution during this year's on-air membership campaign for WRUU. Because of your generosity, we're able to continue bringing you the music and talk programs you've come to accept. And we're back on the air with our regular programming. And thanks for your financial support of Savannah's best local talk radio as voted by readers in the 2020 Connect Savannah poll. WRUU 107.5 FM. That's what we're all about. If you somehow missed the campaign, you can donate anytime at wruu.org. Donations keep us going. All of us here at the station greatly appreciate what you, the community, does to make Community Radio 107.5 FM and streaming at www.wruu.org possible. Here's to another great year of radio.
All right, and we are back, everybody. This is the Adam Messer Show, and I'm your host, Adam Messer, with my special guests, Ellie Raine and Retta Bodhaine. And, hey. Hello. You there, Retta?
Hi. Yeah, I'm here. Sorry.
Yeah, Blueberry.
I was almost going to say Blueberry again. I'm like,
that's funny. So, everybody, the Blueberry thing is like last hour we kept having dead air, and I was like, okay, someone's like, let's have a code word. And like Ellie came up with like, let's do a code word. I was like, Blueberry. So, but yeah, so like that whole thing, Ellie, like you're talking about, I am like on that. And Retta, what you're talking about with the art thing, I totally understand and agree with you because, yeah, there are people out there who they just, I don't know how to explain it, but they look at trends, they look at, what's popular, and then they sell to that market, which is smart. It's smart. There are other people out there who they create for the sake of creating, right? And they're artists and they don't have any intention of trying to sell it. But even if they want to share it with somebody or whatever, that's not the hard sells, but like if you show it to somebody, you're wanting to share it, that's a sale, that's a commission, you're getting some kind of reward out of sharing it. Otherwise you don't share it with anybody. You just keep it to yourself and it's just for you. And even that, there's a reward because then you oh, it's just nobody else gets to see this and it's so amazing, or maybe it's just garbage, I don't know. But Jonathan Mayberry, though, he was talking about that business side of it, and you do have to separate. It's like you have to have that business mindset when it comes to that. And for me, it's been connecting with readers. That's what I've been focusing on with this Valhalla Books, is just connecting with readers and publishing the best stories that I can publish. Weird story today. I'm just gonna tell you this all. But my son and I, we like to go, around little places around Savannah or whatever, and we went to this record store, and I was talking to them about because they carry a lot of different cool stuff, and they carry some books and all that, and I was like, hey, I've got these books, I'd be interested, and I pulled up the website, and the lady behind the counter, she's like, I've seen that before, and I was like, what, really? It was such a surprise. Yeah, I was like, what, but I think sometimes you don't know, you never know who's listening or who's watching or whatever. I've had some other people that'll come up and they're like, man, I just really appreciate, and I'm not talking about me, I'm not trying to be pat on the back or whatever, but that for me is the most wonderful thing when somebody's like, I really like what you're doing, I really appreciate what you're doing. And it's not a humble brag, I'm not trying to be like, oh, blah, blah, blah. But my friends,
no, it's a good feeling.
Yeah, my friends Terry and Darlene, they gave me this silver mic with the Adam Messer Show engraved on it. I saw your post. That was awesome. And I was like, oh my god, this is such a cool gift, And I mean, it was just amazing, And so that's the kind of thing I'm talking about, connecting with people. I'm not trying to sell anybody on that. Yeah, if you like that kind of stuff, if you like my books or you like my radio show or whatever, yeah, I would like you to check it out. But I'm not gonna sit there and try to be like, oh, do this, because I get so sick of being sold to all day long. And that's why I'm saying, Retta, I get what you're saying about the marketing. It's but at the same time, I kind of look at it if I never tell anybody about what I'm doing, then they will never have an opportunity to check it out. And then it is what it is.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know if anybody else has been going through this, but I know I've been going through this a lot lately, where as an artist, you kind of get burned out on the selling.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost it starts to take away from the joy of what you were doing before, where you want to go back and you only want to do things for yourself at that point. You're like, no, I don't need to show anybody. I mean, yeah, I'll post it on Facebook or something, but I'm not going to be focusing on the sale just because I've been giving so much of myself to other people that I feel like I've got nothing left for me.
I hear you.
And
on
I
that.
have to assume a lot of artists out there understand that feeling. And I don't know if it got compounded in COVID or what happened, but I do know that like I basically I've been extroverted my entire life, and I've over the past few months turned into an introvert, where even interacting with others just feels draining.
Yeah, you're right, and that is why I have been focusing on the reader experience, because that's a way for me to be able to control that, because I don't like to sell people. I just hate it. But when I focus on the reader experience, then I'm okay with doing stuff that makes sense, like sending out an email or sharing, like something like, hey, this is the new story, or, like I just got invited to this Facebook group that they do, and there's a lot of people in there. There's a lot of new readers. Normally, I don't like posting in groups. I just don't. And, but it was a way for me to be able to connect with some of these folks that might be interested in them. And I look at it like, okay, well, if they like it, I don't have to sell them on it, but I can let them know, I can inform them and say, hey, this is something I'm doing. If it's up your alley, great. I would love to, connect with you. And for me, doing that, like focusing on the reader experience, and I got this from when I used to work at the university. Everything I did, every single thing I did when I worked at the university for 10 years was all focused on the student. Every job I did was focused on helping the student. And it dawned on me that when I do my publishing work or my writing or whatever, that everything I do is focused on my reader and connecting with my readers. And so like, for me, that was a light switch. And now I don't feel that burden of like, like with the sales. I know a lot of people, they just can't stand that, because it's almost like this. Like I could ask all day long for people to donate money to the radio station because it's a group, it's an entity, they're nonprofit, yada, yada, yada. I would never, ever, 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 ever ask somebody to give me money like that. Now I have a Patreon, right? I have a Patreon, and I use that money that I raise for Patreon for publishing. It doesn't go to my personal account, but I can do that, or like I can raise money for the Ronald McDonald Charities of the Coastal Empire. I could ask that all day long, right? But I would never be like, hey, I want to get a new laptop. Can you help me pay for it? I just can't do that.
Yeah, it's been a lot easier for me to promote the audiobook rather than the general books because it feels more like I'm promoting my narrators.
Yeah.
Rather than me. So I guess mentally in my head, it's like I'm promoting my friends.
Yeah.
Which is much easier for me to do.
Oh, I agree. Is that, am I making sense though too, Retta? Like when I'm talking about that?
You are making sense. Because
I feel that same burnout that you're talking about.
Well, yeah, there's definitely that, but there's also, when you're talking about it, you're like, okay, I can do all these things as long as I focus on this, but at some point, realistically, you have to focus on yourself and your own survival too. Mm-hmm. So what do you do to balance the two?
Now, which way are you going with that? Personally or professionally or both or like whatever?
I was going to go professionally, but we could go both.
Okay.
I like both. Both is a good option.
All right. Yeah. Cause I shared with you before that I had bipolar disease. So I'm game about that. I look at like my life as a whole so I have different parts of it. Like my buddy Bill Cooper's in the studio right now. He's cleaning up his side or whatever. I love this guy to death. He's a great guy.
Who couldn't?
But I look at it like this. Bill and I, we have some stuff in common where we like to joke around, we like to laugh around, do stuff, whatever. We do a radio show. He does a radio show. We have different things that are in common, and we have something that we bond together on that. With you ladies, it's the same kind of thing. We have some things that we like to do that's in common, even though we haven't. I met you, Ellie, in person at the thing, but I really don't know you that well, and vice versa. But we have something in common.
She's a pretty cool person to know.
Yeah.
Aw.
And Reddit, I feel like the same thing. Like with talking to you, I've just had a great time talking with y'all, and I feel like what's worked for me and not worked for me was being burnt out got me. I mean, like I think everybody went through this pandemic burnout, but then I started looking at like, okay, well, I've had a lot of things happen. We've all had a lot of things happen, but I have a lot of things that I can be grateful for. And I'm not just saying like, oh, you got to be grateful, we got to have gratitude, whatever. But I started looking at like, okay, well, what are the things that I do have that are good in my life? My family, my wife, my kids. One of the things I've been able to do, I have been able to do this radio show consistently, and I've only missed like one or two shows, and most those have been because my guests canceled. And I was like, okay, I'll just play, a repeat or whatever. With the publishing, and I'm just talking about professionally here because I have a day job too. I do a 9-to-5 day job too. But even with that, I've had on a temporary layoff, so I've had to deal with, that up and down and being on call and whatever. And just, I'm just kind of being flexible, going with the flow. I told my boss the other day, he said, hey, we're not going to have you come in next week, but be on call. And I was like, you got it. I'll be on call. If you need me, call me. I'll come into work. I have learned though, with the publishing side of things, the discipline of doing and finishing has helped me a lot. And the publishing, like being able to just distinguish okay, I'm doing everything for my audience, or for the radio show, it's for my audience. I'm doing this for my audience, being able to just do that has helped me a lot. I've been like at home, like I've been trying to eat better. I try to exercise more. Not only that, but I make time for the things that I want to do. Like this morning, I said, hey, you know what? I don't know if I want to write tonight, but I'm going to go ahead and write now. I spent an hour. I wrote over 1,000 words on a story that I'm working on. And I did some like promotional stuff or whatever. And then I got ready, my son and I, we went and hung out a little bit before we came on the radio show and all. And so that's helped me, but I think it's different for everybody, right? I mean, like, I know it sounds really crazy, but I feel like having connections like this where we're having real conversations with real people about real things, and we're not just Facebooking and, social mediaing and whatever. I feel like that those are really healthy ways to be able to deal with some of the other stressors, because then you have something in common with each other that you can talk about and relate to, and, you can laugh about it or you can joke about it. Like we were talking about, the toxic gamers,
Mm-hmm.
if you've never played games, like that, you wouldn't understand it because you haven't done it. But like as soon as we start talking, you're like, oh yeah, I know that I can think of somebody just like that, And the whole thing about the sales, like I'm the same way, man. I'm the same way. I don't like pushing people, but man, I'll inform somebody all day long. I'll be like, hey, And speaking of informing people, you're listening today to the Adam Messer Show on WRU LP Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRU.org. We are Savannah Soundings Community Radio with Global Soul. Personally as well, like with mental
Very
health.
nice segue, by the way.
Thank you very much. Blueberry, you're there. Yeah. There we go.
Blueberry.
Yeah, blueberry. But mental health wise, I've just been working on, de-stressing and trying to minimize activities that, I mean, I know I've joked around, but like I'm not playing any MMOs. There's a reason why I'm not playing video games, because it was a time sink for me. Now I love video games. I played a lot of video games, but I was like, hey, I want to publish these books. I want to write these books and publish these books, and I want to take care of myself better, and I want to do these other things. And so, the time that I was looking at, video games were like a big time sink of what I was taking my time up with. And like I quit drinking 2 years ago, so I don't drink anymore. And that was another time sink. So, and money, that's another thing. So I've been focusing what I can control and what I can do. I've been really turning in hard. And I've been saying this for a little while, but I've been really turning in hard to the people who are turning into me, So, like, for example, this show today, because I really had such a great time talking with both of y'all, I wanted to do this show with both of y'all on at the same time. Because I had a great time. I love talking with both of y'all.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun having conversations like this.
Yeah. And I feel like I'm chin wagging too much here, but that's where I've been coming at with it, Retta and Ellie, and I know it's not for everybody, but I think there's a dignity, or not dignity, a dignant way to be able to do it, where you're an artist, you're a craftsperson, or whatever it is that you do, and you inform people about what you're doing, not because you're trying to be like a pat on the back or trying to be like, hey, whatever, because that person, you never know when that story that you're telling, or that joke that you're cracking, or that funny face that you're making is going to make somebody's day, or like that handcrafted, t-shirt or whatever. It's just the right, perfect fit for a gift for somebody. And if you don't tell them, they'll never know. So I look at it like, hey, I'm, trying to do, it's not for me. I'm not trying to sit here and sell books for me, even though it is for me. I'm not doing it for me, because I'm like, hey, maybe this story was going to reach somebody. Like a kind word. I mean, like, oh my gosh, I can't tell you how many times somebody just had a little kind word. Like I know this sounds really crazy. But this other store that we went to, it's a little comic book store. I was looking around, and I noticed that one of our books sold. I was really happy about it. And then I was talking to my son about this little zine that I had, and this girl came over and she goes, oh, you draw comics? I said, oh, it's just a little zine. And she's like, oh, I love that kind of stuff. And she's from out of town. And I ended up giving her the zine. She was so happy just to get this little comic zine that I had done. And that made my day. It's like, here's something that, and it's just like on a little Xerox copy, like a little zine, like old school zine type thing.
That is not crazy at all. In fact, I assume, have you seen the movie Joker?
Oh, yeah.
And I've noticed that there are two different reactions to that movie. That some people look at it and they to me, it's what happens in the absence of kindness.
Mm-hmm.
That the entire movie is actually about like kindness and what happens when you lose it, or what happens when it just, you don't get enough of it.
When you're an invisible person in society.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that some people see that movie and they think the exact same thing. And some people see that movie and they're like, well, that's just an excuse. And I'm like, I feel like you're the kind of person that maybe could use a little more kindness.
And it's weird, because I kind of feel like it's both. I kind of feel like it's a little bit of both. I mean, like where, we are responsible for our own actions, where somebody that doesn't experience that kind of depression or whatever, they just literally don't get it. They don't understand it because they don't live it. But when you do understand it, or if you have been through, either clinical or, any kind of other form of mental disorders or whatever, when you're dealing with different things and you're having to do it firsthand, you're like, oh man, like they really nailed this,
Yeah.
And the folks that don't understand it, it's like, again, like, you never heard of Taco Tuesday? Like, how do you not know about Taco Tuesday? You know, because they just don't know. They just don't have any idea. And but when they have a lack of empathy, that's the problem I see, is that they have a lack of empathy, that even though they don't understand it firsthand, there's a reason why they treat them like invisible people, because it's easier for them to deal with, like, you know, ignoring that homeless person on the corner that's got a little sign up that says, "Hey, please help me." They're like, "Oh, I don't see this person. I don't see this. I'm not going to make eye contact." Well, they're still a human being. You know, whether you think that they're doing drugs or not doing drugs, that's really not your business. You know, you don't have to give them money, but at least have the dignity, you know, to acknowledge somebody as a human being. You know, because, like, there but the grace of God go I. You know, that could be any one of us at any given time.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel
there have been articles written by people that have ended up homeless, where it's ridiculously easy to shatter your life with it, like, well, not even yourself shattering your life, to have your life shatter.
One illness away. One illness away. That's it. It doesn't even have to be you. It could be somebody that is in your family.
Yeah.
I've seen it firsthand. It doesn't, you know, and people just, you know, that's why I think empathy is so important. It's like a super, I mean, like, not even sound funny, but it's like a superhero skill. And some people have it, and we all have it, but some people are really good at it, right? And I think the ones that are most, like, you know, they say the ones that, you know, are the nicest are the ones that have been broken the most. I also think people that have been, you know, through so much in their life, they're the ones that are the most empathetic. And that human connection, like, going back to what I was saying earlier, that human connection, those conversations, those real life connections, I feel like is the best way that all of us can fight against, you know, this loneliness that we're dealing with, or this disconnection to humankind or humanity or whatever. Those kind of conversations, like, I made a post about, like, when's the last time you had a real conversation? And it was just because I had talked with somebody that they were talking about how lonely they were, you know, lately. And I was like, man, you can always call me if you want. I'll talk your ear off, you know. But those kind of conversations. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I've always been addicted to the real conversations.
Mm-hmm.
But there has been something about this year, and I didn't actually realize how much it was affecting me until I was in it. Like, even when I called people, even when I Zoomed people, even when I did everything I possibly could, I could not replace or recreate what was happening.
That's
when I
understandable.
Lost that physical connection.
That's understandable. Yeah, that is understandable, Retta, because, you know, you're probably more of a kinesthetic person, you know, hands-on.
Well, I told you I just recently got fully vaccinated, and in that time I've started going back out and meeting with my friends and doing things again.
Man, I cannot believe.
I honestly thought I'd be too tired to do any of it based on how I was feeling before.
Mm-hmm.
But just doing it once, and it's like all of a sudden it's like, oh, hey, you. I remember you.
Mm-hmm.
You're the person I used to see when I looked in the mirror.
I love that smile. And that's a great point. I want to have you both back on again soon. Like soon. But we've got to wrap it up. Real quick, where's the best place, y'all, that people can check out your information? Ellie?
Me first? Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, you can find me on Twitter at Author Raine, or you can find me at my website. It is necroseam.com. It is necroseam.com.
Awesome. And Retta?
Come check out the Atlanta Radio Theater Company. We are at artc.org. We also have a YouTube channel, which I believe is Artsy Radio. If you want to see me being a subpar superhuman that's very comical, we're putting out the metas right now. And I get to be the zipper.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for being on the show today. I really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to doing it again real soon. So I really appreciate it.
Definitely.
Me too. I'm
kind of hoping at some point we'll road trip down to Savannah.
Me
Oh yeah, we're gonna make that,
That would
happen.
be
Yep.
so much easier.
That's awesome.